What's going on, sports card hobby family? Back again. It's another day, another sports card video. It's Friday, and I am actually driving right now. I filmed this beforehand to the Chantilly show in Virginia. I'm fired up. I'm pumped up for this weekend, but not just that. Fanatics Fest versus the National. We're going to talk about both of these shows. We had an interview on the It's Jeff Wilson show with the leader of Fanatics Fest, giving all sorts of little tidbits and nuggets for us to chew on.
You take the card and put it in the sleeve
while we get through this Friday. And then I also connected with the folks at the National, and they gave me some additional information. So we're going to talk through both shows and the state of card shows in general. Stick around. Sports card friends, before I get started, we have got our Friday shout outs. Let's not hesitate. Card Capsule, cardcapsule.us, sports card dad code for 10% off the supplies that you can count on. Good quality surprise, good quality supplies at great prices. Check out Card Capsule. Wooten sports cards, you're on Whatnot, you're trolling around. Man, all this stuff looks terrible. What could I do? Who could I check out for great inventory and great service? Wooten sports cards, 5-star reviews, 12,000 followers, and a whole bevy of inventory that changes all the time, pretty much sells out every week. Check out Wooten sports cards. JustCollect.com, you've got a collection. You're like, my God, how much is this stuff worth? Go on to JustCollect.com. They've got a very simple appraisal form thingy, and they will let you know what is up with your collection. VintageBreaks.com, vintage set breaks and all sorts of unique offerings over at VintageBreaks.com. You get a $25 credit for a new customer. If you happen to be a new customer, if you go onto their live stream, their YouTube, Vintage Breaks, and you mention Sports Card Dad sent you, $25 credit to use at VintageBreaks.com. And we have got an auction at Golden Auctions, a Superfractor 1 of 1 that we have to talk about. 23-24, Topps Finest, excuse the name, Lamine Yamal. Hopefully I didn't say that wrong. UEFA Club, Prized Footballers, Superfractor, PSA 10. Sitting at Golden Auctions, there's about, 8-9 days left on this thing? Soccer cards. Seeing a rising interest in soccer cards here over the last few years. Make sure to check out this auction for your soccer card buddies. Let them know. Spread the word. All right, let's start the conversation talking about Fanatics Fest, the new kid on the block. Fanatics, obviously not, but this is the behemoth. This is a very ambitious show that they are trying to put on here in New York City. Fanatics Fest coming up here in a couple of months. Unfortunately, I am not going to be able to make this show. I will be at the National in Cleveland, excited about it. I won't be able to make Fanatics Fest, just too much going on in life. But we are going to talk through this interview. CEO of Fanatics Events, Lance Fensterman, on the It's Jeff Wilson show, did about a 40-minute interview there and gave a lot of really good nuggets, like I said previously. This thing is going to be like a large card show, 300-plus vendors, exhibitors. That's not 300 tables, keep in mind. He said 300 exhibitors. So if they each have a couple of tables, you're maybe talking about 600-700 tables. To me, this kind of feels like what a Dallas card show might be. I'm kind of guessing a little bit here. A Dallas card show size show with a much larger fan event around it. Remember, this is the same guy that started or ran the New York Comic-Con, which is an absolutely massive show of epic proportions. So this is going to be a spectacle. I anticipate it to be a spectacle, meaning you're going to have a fairly large card show, but then you're also going to have, he mentioned, panels that are going to be interesting. He mentioned some really interesting panel ideas, like a Knicks reunion panel, and I'm just kind of envisioning Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Xavier McDaniel talking about the old Bulls days and just giving little nuggets there. I think that would be cool. Brady talking to Jeter about life as an entrepreneur. Jeff Wilson, entrepreneur, not entrepreneur. All right, just overall deeper connections with athletes. He uses an example, Jimmy Butler, of course, of the Heat. He owns a coffee shop. He owns coffee shop chains. And maybe you didn't know that. He's throwing that out as an example. It also gives the athletes the ability to share some of the kind of extracurriculars that they're involved in, whether it be a charity, businesses, and whatever, with fans and on these types of panels. So this isn't just valuable for viewers and fans. I believe really there's a lot of value to athletes for this. For athletes, it gives all sorts of different opportunity to push different things that they're working on. Maybe they have a project that's close to their heart. They want to share charitable stuff or business stuff, sports stuff, whatever it might be. It just strikes me as creating deeper connections between fans and athletes that we certainly didn't have going back 30, 40 years ago when I was a kid. Social media's opened this up, but I think this type of event here is meant to be an even larger extension of that. Now, keep in mind, they've got 3 shows. They've got the NYC coming up, which is the Monster Show. Then they have a show that's going to be in Pittsburgh, and then they have a show that's in Orlando early November. And the way that he explained this, I thought was really interesting. So you've got kind of the huge fan fest in New York City that's going to kind of be this all-encompassing thing. Then the one in Pittsburgh is going to be at the baseball stadium at Pirate Stadium. And there's going to be kind of a card show, but with a lot of fan experience type stuff at the baseball stadium. So kind of the same way that he mentioned, there's a couple other guys that do stuff at Fenway Park, and people do different things at different baseball stadiums. So this is going to be focused around being at a kind of a unique venue, wrapping collectibles around it, but it will be more of a fan experience type thing as well, a unique one. And then in Orlando, just kind of more of a regional card show is the way that he explained it, with some fan experience type stuff as well. I'm sure they've got athletes down there that'll be able to kind of do some cool things. But what he was saying is in 2024, they also did a WWE event, so it makes it 4 events. But the idea in 2024 is kind of guinea pigging this thing and figuring out, what do people like about these shows? What do they not like about them? Which ones should we do more of, less of? So this is just an experimental year. When you look at Fanatics Events and listening to what Lance was saying, it's just a giant experiment where they're looking at all these events. What sort of feedback are they getting? Do we need to double down, triple down on certain things? Do we need to eliminate other things? So 2024 is just going to be more of trying to figure it out. And then they move into 2025 and beyond and have more of a clear game plan based on feedback that they get. The other thing that they mentioned that I thought was really key as well is more of a focus on international events. This is obviously something to me that is missing, at least that I know of. Maybe they do have, shows like this in Beijing or in Australia and just different parts of Europe, but I haven't heard that. And I think that if you're Fanatics and you are trying to, there's all the talk about 10xing collectors, 10xing this, 10xing that, you have to have more of a global customer base. Of course, you've got people that are ordering jerseys and that sort of thing that are in other countries, but they need to kind of broaden this thing out more. And so the event space, this Fanatics Events part of the company, I think they're really going to push. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if they pushed harder on international events than the US. Like maybe they have this nailed down to a couple of events they do in the US, but then they've got stuff all over the place. Maybe they've got an event that's in Brazil. Maybe they've got one in Europe. Maybe they've got one in Australia. There are a lot of people that collect cards and collectibles in Australia. And I don't know how much access they have there. Probably not much, especially not compared to North America. So a lot of opportunity out there. I think for them, it's just trying to figure out where is the smartest place to put our money? And then out of those places, what are they looking for? What do we need to kind of build off of internationally? And then in the US, what do people want to see? What's missing from the fan experience? And it sounds to me like they're trying to fill that gap. Also, another thing that they touched on in the interview that I think is an important note is that they weren't necessarily trying to line up Fanatics Fest New York City against the National. It just happened to be that way because of the size of the space. There's not a lot of flexibility with the dates. Obviously, when you're just requesting to use that much room, the building, the venue, they've got all the power as far as the dates go. There's not a lot of room to negotiate, especially when you're first coming in. He did say that maybe as they kind of build that relationship out, then they have some more flexibility in negotiation. But he said they don't want to overshadow the National. They don't want to be running up against the National. They kind of understand that, these things kind of need to work symbiotically. And it really is true because you're splitting collectors and dealers and companies. Not every collector, dealer, company is going to be able to do the National like me. do the national, and then 2-3 weeks later be in New York City for another huge event. So I'm going to plan to try to go to the show in Orlando in November. It's not going to be the same show as the one they've got in New York City, but it will be a taste of it. It'll give kind of a good idea as to what to expect as far as the card show is concerned. And then there will be kind of mini experience as well, not on the same level as what you're going to see in New York City, but I'll get a pretty good flavor, I think, by going to that Orlando show. All right, I also connected with the folks at the National, and of course, really, the National is kind of the show that you know what you're going to get with that show, and it is the mecca of card shows. Even with Fanatics Fest coming in, maybe eventually they'll have shows that rival the National. It's certainly possible, but it's not going to be for a little while, I don't think. The National is going to be that show for a lot of people to go, whether you're buying, selling cards, or just going to meet with friends, meet with companies. There's going to be a heavy presence there at the National. And even Topps, Topps obviously owned by Fanatics, they're going to have a lot of stuff going on at the National. And so I am really excited for this show again in Cleveland. It's a whole different venue than I've been to. I know a lot of people are kind of complaining about getting to and from and all that. I'm actually driving there, so this kind of works out okay for me. Other than like trying to figure out parking, I at least don't have to worry about Ubering around and that sort of stuff. So I'm excited for this. Also, I did connect with them about the media pass part and how to go about it. I will put a link down in the video description if you are a content creator, a media person, and you're kind of looking to figure out how can I get a media pass. You can apply through this link. I'll put the link down in the video description that you use to apply. I didn't know where it was. I didn't see it. It's actually on their website. I didn't know where it was until they had reached out to me. And so that will be there for you. Also, so much talk from dealers, especially longtime dealers that are losing their space. Again, they're really eliminating booth sharing. The booth sharing stuff that has been done at the National for years and years is really going to be no longer there. And there's a lot of longtime dealers that have been affected by this. And I mentioned, going back to my last video on this subject, they have a wait list, and I did confirm when speaking with those folks at the National, they still have a wait list. Now, the good news is that they are working through that wait list. So for a lot of people, look, there's people that have been on the wait list for years that have been trying to show up and exhibit at the National as a vendor. They are starting to get calls. So people that have been on that list, they're working down that list. There is still a wait list as of today, as of filming here today. But, they are working down that wait list. But the reason why I bring this up is because, again, when people were asking, why would they do this? Why would they, stop this booth share? What about the inventory that they're going to lose? Guys, they don't have a shortage of demand for people that are trying to be there. I think that's the thing that maybe is getting lost. We're not going to walk in there and it just be like this gigantic space where, oh, wow, look at all these empty tables. Look, that's not how it's going to be. It's going to be full. They're not having trouble finding people that want to buy tables at the National. So that's why this happened. The other part of this is if you're running a large event, don't you want to know who your exhibitors are? The other problem with the subletting thing, the other problem with the booth share thing is, who are they booth sharing with? It could be a great person that has great inventory, that's a good person, or it could be a complete scam. Look, let's not kid ourselves. We've got, fakes in sports memorabilia. We've got fake slabs and cards flying around and all sorts of weirdness going on. There is no shortage of scammy type stuff. And what happens if they get a table? I don't think if you're running that show that's exactly what you want to happen. So, guys, this couldn't be more clear and obvious why this has happened. There will be 3 nights of trade nights at the venues. A little bit different than how it was done before with these offshoot style trade nights. It will be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. And I believe that will be actually at the venue at the IX Center. So that will be fun. It'll be really interesting. At least we kind of know what's what. And look, there's still going to be pop-up events all over the place. Everyone's going to kind of throw their own little thing. Not a trade night necessarily, but get-togethers and that sort of thing. That's already been scheduled, already been booked up. There is a Ludex VIP lounge again. My buddy Matt over there at Ludex, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. to the VIPers. It will be there on site. Ludex is going to be throwing the VIP lounge. So definitely check that out if you've got I believe you just have to have a VIP pass to be able to access that on Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Wednesday the 24th. So I'm mega excited for the National. I'm also going to put some additional resources provided by some of the National folks that I thought are great, interviews with the people that are running it and that sort of thing. If you look in the video description, I'll put links to this stuff to give you kind of just some more access to just more information in different places maybe where you wouldn't know to look for it. So my friends, are we fired up and pumped up for card shows coming up here over the next couple of months? Starting with Chantilly this weekend for me, moving into the National, and then beyond. There is a great summer, fall lineup for card shows. Who's pumped? Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.